If I were president of South Africa, there's a few people that I'd like to address in this video. Because if I were president, I'll have the platform to have a meeting with the first person I'd like to address on the continent. And the first one is our neighbor who we share a border with, Zimbabwe, and its president, Mnangagwa. Not really sure about his first name, but I don't really care. So I would arrange a meeting with Mnangagwa. He will come to me, I won't go to him, and I'll ask him a few questions so we can have a conversation as brothers. Because we have this African thing. I don't know whether it's culture or what you want to call it, but we're supposed to be brothers and look after each other and advise each other so we can move forward, right? So African brotherhood is very important to us as Africans. As a black person, an African person born in South Africa, raised in South Africa, it's very important that brothers can talk to each other so we can solve problems. But for some strange reason, what I find is that I've never seen African leaders actually call each other out. They never call each other out. It's like they like to protect each other from the nonsense that they're up to. You look at a country like Zimbabwe that shares a border with South Africa. So you've got millions and millions of Zimbabweans that are in South Africa illegally, crossing the border and breaking our immigration laws. But they have a country with a president. So if I were president of South Africa, this is the conversation I want to have with Mnangagwa right now to say, Mnangagwa, as my brother, as my neighbor, as my African brother, are you proud of yourself? Are you proud of yourself? Are you proud of the country that you run as president? Are you proud since you took over from your predecessor Mugabe? Are you proud that all your citizens are crossing the border and coming to South Africa and fighting for education, fighting for healthcare, and fighting for jobs with South Africans? And becoming a burden on South African budgets that were designed to cater for the population of South Africa, which is not a rich population? Are you proud of yourself? Because if we are brothers, we should have a conversation, right? If we are brothers, I should be able to call you out, and you can also call me out on my nonsense. I've got a younger brother. We're about 6 years apart. When he's out of line, I call him out. When I'm out of line, he calls me out. That's why we stay together and close. Because if we don't call each other out as brothers, then there's no brotherhood. It doesn't exist. So I've got a couple of questions for you. Are you proud of yourself? When you took over from Mugabe, whichever way you did, whether it was a coup, a soft coup, whatever you want to call it, you took over from Mugabe, who we can all agree that was a bad president. Everybody was celebrating. Everybody was happy that something's going to happen. Eventually, your citizens that are in South Africa, but the millions can leave our country and go back to their own country and rebuild their country, rebuild the economy, build schools and industries. But then what did you do? You just continued where Mugabe stopped. You just literally doubled down on the policies that are so. I'm looking for a word for your policies. Mugabe's policies are fatal. You managed to confiscate land without compensation. You did all sorts of things. I thought you were doing all those things for the benefit of your citizens. How's that land grabbing business going for you? Because you grabbed land in the early 2000s. I thought your citizens were gonna be able to have land and create industries and farm and export products and make a lot of money, right? How is that working for you? How is that working for you? How's the land expropriation policy working for you out there? Because of all the problems that you and your predecessor created, I'm dealing with it as the president of South Africa. Like I said, I'm speaking as the president of South Africa. If I were president of South Africa, this is the conversation I'm having with Mnangagwa. Because of all the ills that you've caused in your country, it's like you've created so much chaos in your country that nobody even wants to come to your country. I've got no desire to come to your country because all your citizens are here anyway. And you know how I know nothing is happening in your country? Do you know how I know that your country is a failed country? Do you know how I know that? Do you want to know how I know that? Because all your citizens are here. They've crossed the border. They've come into our country, breaking all sorts of immigration laws, coming here, breaking our labor laws, breaking all sorts of laws, and fighting for services that were designed and budgeted for South Africans. So we're brothers. So let's have a conversation about this, Mnangagwa. Are you proud of yourself? Are you proud of oppressing your own black African people, people that look like you? Are you proud that you have created a mess out of that country? And we have to pay for it because when they cross the border and do all sorts of nonsense at our borders, you just sit back and do nothing. I've never heard you bring up the issue of calling out your citizens and asking them to behave when they're here, number one. Number two, I've never heard you come and advocate for them to be able to get into South Africa legally. You just sit back and just be happy that we deal with it and you don't have to. If I were president of South Africa, every person we deport, you will pay for that. You will pay for that because you are causing a problem, intentionally so, that is solvable. You choose to die on a hill of bad policies. You refuse to change your ways and make a U-turn and find ways to rejuvenate your economy in your country. You refuse to do that. And as a brother, we're brothers, right? As a brother, I'm asking you, are you proud of yourself as a president of Zimbabwe? Are you proud of yourself? Or are you just happy that you don't have to deal with the problems that we are dealing with here? People walk through our borders illegally. We don't know their criminal records. We don't know whether they're serial rapists or murderers. We don't know anything about them. They cross the border, they come into our country, and they start fighting for services and jobs. And you just sit there and have a great time, don't you? Because there's this thing about African brotherhood where we only talk about we only talk about things when it's good things, right? When it's bad things and we have to call each other out, we don't do that anymore. I mean, there are so many countries that I can mention in Africa, but today I'm focusing on you, Mnangagwa, because you're our neighbor. We share a border, and we have a problem with your citizens coming to our country illegally. Another question I want to ask you: how's that land grabbing business working out for you? I remember you were grabbing land and doing all sorts of things. How did it work out for you? And what will it take to reverse that and invite investment back into your country so that your citizens can benefit from it? You know, there's so much propaganda coming out of Zimbabwe where at some point, you know, we were told that Zimbabweans are very educated, Zimbabweans are smarter. No. If you are educated and smart, you stay in your country and develop your country. So what I'm asking you as a brother, Mnangagwa, is what kind of a leader are you? The whole world is looking at Africa and wondering, why is Africa such a poor place? It is a poor place because of people like you, Mnangagwa. Africa is what it is now because of presidents like you who refuse to understand how things work, apply those solutions, and make sure that their citizens can be the beneficiaries. You refuse to step down. As we speak right now, you're discussing the issue of yourself, continue to be president of that country, even at your old age. That is the problem. You are part of the biggest problem we have in this continent, and we cannot have it anymore. We cannot have it anymore because every time you mess up, we clean up the mess. You caused the problem, and now we must clean out Mugabe's garbage. It's not our responsibility. But you're happy to sit there and do nothing. And for the past 30 years, you and your predecessors have been dealing with weak presidents who refuse to have a frank conversation with you and call you out. So if I were president of South Africa, I would call you out immediately. So you can solve your problems and clean out the problems so that you can have your citizens back in your country and prosper as a country. You have the potential, you have the minerals, you got the land. But you refuse to do that because you're a selfish person. You're not interested in progress. And when all goes wrong, you blame other people while you're the cause of the problem. So I actually want to start this series where I want to address all the African leaders, including Nigeria and Lesotho and Somalia and Ethiopia, because they need to be called out. We like talking about this African unity and brotherhood. We are one race, we are one nation. But when people mess up, we don't call them out. The president of Uganda, who's been president since 1986, the president of South Sudan, who can't even walk and is busy wetting himself while he's standing and singing the national anthem, we don't call each other out anymore. What kind of a brotherhood is that? If we are real brothers and we believe that we are one race and one nation, we're supposed to talk about things frankly. I mean, I think about Nigeria. Imagine, and I'll do a whole new episode about Nigeria. Your citizens are known to be scammers. They're world famous. They've got the international status when it comes to. It's like they've perfected the art of scamming, dating scams, financial scams, Gmail scams, Yahoo scams. And you've done nothing about it. Drug dealing, all sorts of bad stuff about your citizens as Nigerians, and as the president of Nigeria, you've done nothing. And I will come to you with a full episode of 30 minutes because I've got a list of questions I want to ask you as the president of Nigeria. I don't know your name, but I'll find out what it is. So the question I'm really asking, and I'm putting myself in a seat or a chair as the president of South Africa. If I were president of South Africa, The first president I would like to talk to is Mnangagwa. And the question I want to ask you, Mnangagwa, is, are you proud of yourself? What kind of an African leader oppresses African people? We come from a history of struggle and oppression and apartheid. And then when you eventually get the power, instead of using it positively and making sure that you can develop your country like create a Singapore story, instead you oppress them, you take away their rights, they leave your country, break other countries' laws and regulations, and then you do nothing about it. You're just happy to chill in your palace and take all the benefits that you get as a selfish president. Anyway, that's all I've got to share. I hope everybody's having a great Easter weekend. Until then, stay safe.